Welcome to Seeing Art History. In this video, we will look at Monk by the Sea, one of Caspar David Friedrich's most affecting paintings. We explore how this work cultivates what Friedrich called a sacred intuition. That is a contemplation of nature that seeks the presence of its creator God. As you take a moment to look closely at this work, please like this video and subscribe to Seeing Art History. Friedrich's iconic painting, Monk by the Sea, is one of the most famous paintings of the 19th century. Monk by the Sea is unforgettable, in part because it is inexplicable. In a letter, the artist acknowledged that a viewer could meditate from morning to evening, from evening to deepening midnight, but that you would never comprehend this painting. But for Friedrich, who was a devout Lutheran, this incomprehensibility had a spiritual purpose. It reorients our imagination. Since God is unfathomable, we need to develop the capacity to believe in what we don't yet understand, to perceive what cannot be observed. Then, in the same letter, Friedrich explained that if we want to understand his painting, we need to employ a process of seeing through the soul, what he called a sacred intuition. One of the many mysteries that have perplexed viewers about this painting is the identity of the figure. For some, this monk is an isolated individual standing at the edge between the material world and the spiritual world. Some art historians have proposed that this monk is a self-portrait, turning the work into a spiritual confession or lamentation. And at least one contemporary critic saw this lone figure as the poet and Lutheran pastor Ludwig Gotthard Kosegarten. Kosegarten, who was a personal friend of Friedrich, was a pastor on the island of Rügen. As a ministry to the local fishermen, Kosegarten would deliver sermons right on the beach. These so-called shore sermons often employed the natural environment of the sea and sky as examples of God's revelation. Whether or not Monk by the Sea actually depicts Kosegarten standing on the beach, this work visualized a kinship with his theology in two ways. The first was Kosegarten's teaching that God could be known directly through a contemplative study of nature. And the second was the belief that true faith begins where comprehension has reached its limits. To visualize nature as a reflection of its divine designer, Monk by the Sea draws the viewer from what can be observed with the eye to what can only be perceived with the soul. Let's look at how Friedrich achieves this in Monk by the Sea. While the bottom half of the composition is desolate and somber, there is a passage through the upper half of the composition where the sky becomes bright. In fact, when viewed separately, it is hard to believe that the bottom and top halves of this painting belong to the same work. And notice how this light is most intense, directly above the monk. There is a break in the clouds. Through this opening, there is a brightness that suggests an unseen yet present light source. This unseen source of light is God. In Monk by the Sea, Friedrich translated his belief that the observable world conveys a revelation of the invisible God into an artistic method. This is what he called a sacred intuition. In Caspar David Friedrich's art, what is seen is not limited to what is depicted.